And joining me now for more on this from Uppsala, Sweden, is Greg Simons. He is an associate professor at the Institute for Russian and Eurasian Studies. Thank you very much, Professor, for joining us here on TRT World. Certainly, there has been a significant increase in Ukrainian attacks on Russian-controlled areas and cities which border Russia. So are these attacks perhaps an indication that a Ukrainian counter-offensive has begun?
I don't think necessarily. I think the main point of these attacks is twofold, and one of these has already been mentioned, that these are very asymmetric in terms of their destructive potential. They're a nuisance. So what is the point of these attacks? Because militarily they're not significant. But what is significant is the psychological dimension on the Russian civilian population. That is to create a sense of fear, a kind of political demand on their leaders because of this fear. I mean, it's a classic tactic of a weaker military when you are facing a stronger opponent. Now, the second reason I can see, which is potentially for this, is to get a stronger Russian response. That is, that the Russians launch a much more hard attack because different red lines have been crossed, and then this as an excuse to get a greater level of Western involvement, not only indirectly but directly in this war.
Professor, how do you think the Kremlin is going to respond to these growing number of attacks on their controlled regions?
Well, the most logical way now to do this is to have precision strikes on those centres which are likely coordinating this. Now, you've had one of these in Kiev already with the military intelligence headquarters targeted. So I would think that there will be a greater level of targeting of decision makers and those particular areas which facilitate these particular raids to negate the effects of this. And of course, other things, infrastructure, which would support these physically.
Professor Greg Simons, thank you very much for talking to us here on TRT World. As always, really appreciate your taking out the time.